again, that's it's a tough one to swallow. Like any last game in particular, the end of a season rivalry game, all the things that build up to this. We weren't able to get the job done. There's a lot of reasons why we didn't get the job done today. You're not just going to point at one specific thing, but we weren't able to, take care of the football. We weren't able to be better than we needed to be in the red zone. And so those things right there kind of are accumulation of, of why, it didn't go our way. And, it's very, very difficult and tough to swallow. There's a lot of, there's no consolation prize. I know that that locker room in there, feels as bad as you possibly could. And I wanted nothing more than to end this thing for the seniors in a way that they could be proud of. And I just wanted to reiterate it to them, though, that it didn't end the way you wanted it to. This hurts, it stings, and it should. But there's a lot to be proud of amongst that older group of their ability to keep us together. And we didn't finish well last year. We didn't finish well today. But there's definitely a different feel inside that locker room, and had a lot to do with the leadership of that older group, those senior guys in particular. That, like I said, no matter what, outcomes obviously determine a lot of things, but they don't determine how you really feel about those guys in that locker room and what you always remember. And I'm proud to say that I remember that crew as the guys that have battled through more in a season than I've ever imagined and I've ever been a part of. And for that, I am incredibly and extremely proud of the seniors in particular.
Yeah, Luke, with the quarterback switch, obviously we saw the passing switch that needed to happen with Hunter going in there. But after the turnovers, was there consideration of going back to Carter?
I mean, there was a consideration in all that we were doing. You saw us at the end of the first half. We went a 2-minute drive and went with Hunter, and then we got down to the red zone and went back with Carter. It's nothing against Carter. It's just the way that they were playing. And we thought that, going in at halftime and coming back out, that it gave us a chance to loosen some things up. And, they moved the ball decent. Just couldn't capitalize. We get down closer to the red zone and we turn the ball over. And those are the things that you can't overcome. You can overcome a lot of different things when you play complementary football, but turnovers is probably the most difficult thing to overcome.
Luke, your defense, I think you held them to 218 or so yards. Does that kind of also make it tough to swallow?
I mean, it's a tough day out there. I mean, it's tough sledding in the weather. And, yeah, I mean, late in the game, they didn't even have 200, I don't think, But the truth of the matter is you gotta find ways to play better in the red zone, and there's always things that you can nitpick at. We got to find ways to create some turnovers, and got to give them credit. They did a good job protecting the football, taking care of the football. They didn't turn it over, But we got to find better ways to get the ball and to create some energy and momentum defensively in a game like this, and obviously when your offense is battling the way they were battling and turn the ball over, we got to be able to flip the switch and do the same thing on our defense.
Luke, I know you just got off the field, but what do you feel like you need to do this offseason to address
That's a lot. I don't know if
quarterback, though, and what you feel you have to do to beat?
Yeah, it's been a battle. I say I don't want to say it's been a battle all year, and just the injuries in particular, and then trying to figure out which direction do you go, hoping to get guys back and not getting guys back, and it's just created this hesitation offensively at how you were going to go about things. And then finally when you decided, like we talked about, hey, we're going to go with Danny and start moving the offense that direction, and then he gets hurt, and then you got to go with Carter because that's the direction that you were going, and now you got to go bounce back and forth. It makes it difficult. We've got to make sure that room is solidified more than anything. We've said that since we came here, and it's been just an Achilles heel, meaning you can say injuries, but I just mean the depth of that room, the ability to, have the next man up mentality that can progress the offense in the things that we need to be able to do. And in some ways it's not fair. It's not fair to Coach Grimes. It's not fair to that group of guys that, hey, this is what we want to be. This is how we're going to go. And then when you got to go backwards and you got to go left and you got to go right, just because the nature of, the position in general, what those guys can do well. We've got to address that.
Luca, I know you talked about those seniors, guys like Rico, Darryl, maybe Barton, and some of the offensive guys as well, like Riley. How did they, throughout kind of the hills and valleys, steady the ship during some of those times?
It was just it was a constant consistency that they came in every week with. I think that they did a really good job, and I don't see everything, but of policing the locker room and making sure the guys inside that locker room, and there's a genuineness to those guys, and I think that's what, more than anything, won the locker room, and kept the locker room moving in the right direction. And it's not always what they say, but it's how they went about their business. Ben Barton's not a overly vocal guy, but I can tell you that there's nobody that's had more energy and been happier through this entire process than Ben Barton. And it's been a battle and it's been a struggle. And Darrell Peterson is as consistent of a person, kid, player now that I've been around. And so those are the things, that their persistence and their consistency gave us a chance. And I'm gonna be honest with you, we just, unfortunately, even in the last couple of years, it's been hard to overcome a lot of the things that we've gone through. And a lot of it is just the consistency of the guys that are standing up front, the guys that run the locker room, and making sure they hold people accountable. I think that's where the other thing, that within each of those rooms there was enough depth to continue to hold people accountable that gave us the chance to, play better at the end of the year.
The touchdown at the end of the first half, at the time you could have kicked the field goal, had the ball at the start of the second half. What went into at that point going forward?
We knew that we needed to score a touchdown. I mean, it's going to be hard to think that field goals were going to be, something that was going to win a game even in weather like this. And, how far out can you kick a field goal? We wanted to be aggressive. I felt like the energy, the momentum going into halftime was going to be really, really key. We got the ball back coming out. So if by chance we didn't get it, we at least had an opportunity to get the ball back and create some energy and momentum. And, we're in this thing to win. And I think that our big message is about finishing the race, but running the race to win the prize. And if you don't play to win and you don't push the things like that, I'm not saying you be, not intelligent about the things that you're doing, but the idea was, hey, we're going to run this race to win the prize, and that means we got to go for some things. That means we got to score touchdowns. That means we got to be better than what we were.
Luke, your guys' run defense was so good throughout the day, and then there was that one for the touchdown. Did that just get fitted out wrong, or could you tell what happened from there?
It's a little bit of a misfit that it shouldn't happen to us at that point in time. And one of those things that at the time it cost us big time. And so yeah, it was a misfit. It was a miscommunication of a misfit.
That's it. Luke, I know after the second interception there was a touchdown given up, but the other two times when there was turnovers, there's blocked field goal and also stopping on that first interception. Do you feel like that defense had made strides in sudden change situations?
Yeah, there are a lot of positive. I mean, defensively, they played hard, played well, made some stops, got the off of the turnovers, played well in those sudden change situations. Unfortunately, there's two plays you went back. There's the third down in the red zone, and there's the misfit on the touchdown run. And two plays in a game like this that you can't give up. And there'll be two plays that haunt us for 4 hours till we get home, and 8 hours till we get in there tomorrow morning, and for quite a while beyond. But you got to have ability to be able to overcome some things like that, and that's where that complementary football, has got to kick in, and but there's a couple of those ones that, outside of that, I think the defense played pretty well.
The way things went for the defense this year, I know the offense was kind of frustrating at times, but do you feel like you guys figured out some things defensively that moving forward can help this program?
I think they got a good beat on what it is that we need to be able to do, how we need to be able to do it, and then they played well. I think the guys up front in particular, again, was the strength of the of the defense, the consistency of the defense. They even that they grew throughout the entire season. To be honest with you, I know maybe you'd say there's 2 plays. He didn't play your best game tonight. When if you outplay their defense, you got a better chance. But the truth of the matter is, I think they're in a good place, moving in a really, really good direction. But that's hard to kind of see right now in this, walking off the field and when it's all about winning.
Luke, you guys have generated some momentum program-wise in this month, winning a couple of games. Do you feel like that was hurt at all today with a loss, or how do you kind of view that?
No, I mean, it hurts right now. Yeah, there's some momentum that's not right now, but the truth of the matter is we know where we need to go. Whether we end of the season today, whichever way, like, this isn't the expectations, and everybody understands that. Everybody knows that. We talked about that about a month and a half ago when they stood behind us and knew what it is that we could do, and that wasn't saying that this was an acceptable expectation for how our football team is supposed to play. But nonetheless, it's it is what it is right now, and it is what we have made it. And so we know more than anything that we have to grow, we have to move forward, we have to build on the positive things that we do have, and that's the only thing we can do. Whether we create our own momentum and energy, and that's where we've got to make sure that that isn't lost.